Hi there, Agile friends. I'll come in here just with a quick note to let you know that the Agile Online Summit 2022 is coming soon. To know more, check out bit.ly/AOS2022. That's all one word, all lowercase, bit.ly/AOS2022. Now, stick around to the end of the episode if you want to know more, but for now, on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Team Tuesday this week with Bert Heymans. Hey, Bert, welcome back.
Hey, Vasco.
So, Bert, on Tuesdays, we dive into teams. But before we discuss teams and all of the things that go with it, do share with us, what's the book that most influenced you in your career as a Scrum Master?
It's not a book about agile or lean or anything, but it's a book by Nicholas Taleb called Antifragile. It's a famous book, Antifragile, Things That Gain from Disorder by Nicholas Taleb. Actually, it's 7 books in one. You can start it at any chapter. And one of the most interesting things that I took from this book was the via negativa. So what does that mean? That's taking away things. So not doing stuff that's not necessary, staying away from naïve intervention. So one of the key lessons there was that knowing what not to do is far more important than knowing what to do.
Okay, this begs for an example. Can you share an example with us?
An example of naive intervention in medicine is giving someone, and this is an example from the book, is giving someone blood pressure suppressant medicine when they visit the doctor once and the doctor measures high blood pressure just once and looks at the patient's looks at the patient's age and says, well, okay, we're gonna put you on this blood pressure suppressant medicine. But this is a moment in time, and we do not know if this is very good for the patient. Also, jumping straight into operating on a patient without considering the context of things. And this translates to business in a way that if you visit a client and you see that they are working in a certain way, just pause and see how they are working. Or if you encounter a team for the first time, just pause, look at how they are working, what works, what doesn't work. Don't try to barge in with a framework just like that. That's very dangerous. There's a saying that says, meet them where they are. Yeah. So just see first how they are doing and then start from there. Because maybe you destroy something that's great that they are already doing. And I'm using a wild example. Maybe they don't call it retrospectives, but they are doing it. And if you say, well, no, that we're not going to do that meeting anymore, and 2 months afterwards you replace it with retrospectives, but well, you told them not to do it. So
absolutely,
that's the example.
This concept of naive intervention is actually something that we should really pay attention to as Scrum Masters, because very often the expectation is that we go in and do stuff, right? Like we go in and help the team. We go in and tell the PO what to do or whatever the expectation is. Yeah, but sometimes the reason why they do the things that they do, why they act that way is not visible, not transparent to us yet, because we don't understand enough about what's going on. So they might actually have a great reason and even experience on why that's important to do things different from what we expect.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like the doctors, the Hippocratic Oath, first to do no harm. So
yeah, I think that should be also for Scrum Masters.
Yeah. Maybe it's good for everybody.
So obviously, this is an important aspect when we think about the teams that we work with. And because today is Tuesday, we're going to talk about a team that went through what we would call a negative spiral, right? So we want to explore the story of a team that you were involved with, Bert. And we especially want to explore what were the early signs that something was going on and that eventually led to problems. We'll explore all of the conclusions and takeaways later, but tell us that story, Bert.
There's a situation I encountered not so long ago, so I can't really mention the names. But there was this coworker who in a Scrum team who was actually a little bit of a bully.
So how did that show?
It showed because they evaded work and were pointing out other people's mistakes. But if I sat down with them, or with him, I'll just say with them, well, they couldn't really explain in detail what the other were doing wrong and what they wanted. So it was clearly some kind of.
So they said, oh, that person did something wrong, but when you wanted to have like a one-on-one conversation, they couldn't say what was done wrong.
Absolutely, they were very very evasive. Yeah, and also when it came to what that person was supposed to do, what they were supposed to be good at, they couldn't really explain what that was. So we were dealing with a very, very unskilled individual, and and also very uncoachable.
What do you mean by that? Like how uncoachable? Like what were the behaviors that the person presented that told you that they were uncoachable?
Yeah. When is someone uncoachable? Well, that's a good question. That's very hard on a team because other people see that person does not want to grow, and so why would I grow if they get paid the same thing as me? Okay, so what's uncoachable? How can you tell when someone does not want to be coached? Well, first thing is you can discover that they have been lying. So they say that they want to grow, but if you start asking questions or want to discuss their subject matter or their skill, they can't really answer you, and they don't show and can't speak of examples that they want to of areas that they want to grow in. That's a big sign that they are uncoachable. So they lie about stuff. So they say, yes, I want to grow, but actually when you start asking difficult questions, can't answer. That's maybe the biggest red flag. And if you try,
well, was it so? Like when you think about this behavior of blaming other people, kind of evading questions about how they wanted to develop themselves, do you have the feeling that this person was, by let's say a coincidence of destiny, in a position and a role for which they weren't ready, but also they weren't motivated? Do you
absolutely
think? Okay.
Yeah. It's like the golden cage they ended up in. You could say the Peter principle somewhat applied. So this person got promoted to a level of responsibility which they were definitely not equipped for or not competent to do.
And I imagine that this had some like nasty effects on the team as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Because if you keep someone like this around, and the story didn't end well for this person, so they were let go, and that made the team breathe again. But when you see that someone is not doing the work or not putting in the work that they should put in to get the job done, and other people have to make up for it, that poisons the well, especially if that person just keeps getting away with it. And the longer they get away with it, the nastier the situation becomes, because why should I put in extra work when they are not doing anything, and also doing a 9 to 5 and also getting paid? Well,
absolutely. And from a perspective of a Scrum Master, it's also very important for us to be aware of this kind of dynamic, right? Like somebody that is stepping back, maybe feeling uncomfortable, therefore not really getting involved with any work, and taking any opportunity to blame others before they blame that person, and so on and so forth. Like when we see this, it's also our duty to think that actually a way to protect the team is to protect the team from itself, right?
Yes.
Whether it's one or multiple people in the team entering this kind of negative pattern, it doesn't really matter. And maybe having that, one-on-one conversation, try to assess deeply what is going on with this person, and then ultimately, if things come to that, to actually make sure that they depart.
And it's difficult discussing it because everybody can tell, but it's not very nice to talk about these things because you cannot talk about the work anymore. You have to point at a person, and I don't feel comfortable with that. I much rather manage the work and make the assumption that everybody wants to do the best they can, and that should be the first position of a Scrum Master, I think. And afterwards, when certain personal dynamics come up, then you can maybe intervene. But if somebody is just sitting there being a load on the team, well, that's a difficult moment, because then you have to somehow point out, well, you're doing something wrong. And I don't want to create an atmosphere where that's normal.
Absolutely. And we should raise up the topic and, if necessary, do part with the team or help the team member that needs to go as well. Thank you for sharing that story, Bert. It's a difficult story, but definitely important for all of us Scrum Masters to hear.
Well, thanks. It was kind of therapeutic for me to talk about it with you.
I'm happy.
Hi there, Agile friends. Thank you for sticking around to know more about this year's Agile Online Summit. The summit will have 4 keynotes and 4 tracks you will not want to miss. The keynotes will touch on critical topics for us, from delivering on time to helping you to focus on sustainability. The 4 tracks are tools, so we'll focus on tools you need to excel at your job, but also your mission. We'll also have a track on sustainability, which is, of course, about people and their sustainable pace, but it's also about how do we bring sustainability to the products and the planet we inhabit. We'll have a 3rd track about happiness, talking about doing what we love and, most crucially, loving what we do. And finally, the 4th track will be live. It will be mostly hands-on sessions to help you roll up your sleeves together with the presenters. Oh, and we will also have a coaching clinic, as we usually do, organized to help you discuss and get inspired to solve the hardest challenges you face at work. This year, we'll have a special emphasis on interaction with your peers, so get your ticket and join the Slack at bit.ly/AOS 2022. As always, we have free tickets for anyone that wants to attend live, and the VIP tickets for those of you who want to keep the videos forever. So check them out at bit.ly/AOS 2022. I'll see you on the conference floor. Tuesday is Team Day here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, but tomorrow we talk about something that goes beyond the work we do with the teams. We will talk about how to lead change and what our guests have learned from leading and participating in change programs during their career. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.